it's Jessie with Elysian Homestead. We are currently in early August, zone 5B, northern Michigan. Let's do a garden tour. The garden is beautiful, it's green, it's lush, it's at its peak of beauty. Let's go look at it. Here's the garden gate where we walk in. Look at all those beautiful grapes. They're everywhere. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but it's loaded up there. So this first bed when we walk in, I might have overplanted significantly. Those are my cherry tomatoes. It's kind of my cherry tomato forest at this point, but it's okay. And then immediately come across some summer squash. A cabbage. Got some babies starting in there. Some of my cabbage are producing, some of my summer squashes are producing, some are not yet or on the brink of it. See, there's a squash right here. That's a little baby. Let's see if we can back up. This is my Blue Beauty slicing tomato. I just threw it in that bed because it was left over from the plant sale and I didn't really know where to put it. And it was like randomly in something, so I was like, oh, I'll just put it here. It has taken over. It's got lots of beautiful tomatoes. Next bed we have more summer squash. Look how big and beautiful and healthy looking. I just harvested one off of this big guy last night. I know there's one more. Oh, there he is. I think it's the Cozell variety. Past them, we have Carolina white pineberry strawberries. This is the first year I put them in. I put in 8 plants and it has kind of taken over. Probably next spring I'll move them to in-ground because that's crazy. This was my garlic bed that I harvested. That was a potato bed that we harvested because the potatoes were literally popping out of the ground. It was crazy. Here's another potato bed that we will be harvesting probably tomorrow. And another one over here that we will probably also be harvesting tomorrow. Then we have this with the snap peas that are still going great. I have onions, some carrots. When I pull my carrots, I just pull the tops and just leave it on the ground to like compost in place. So we're slowly getting through our carrots. Some more onions. These are the Patterson variety because of storage length. I decided to go with that variety, so it's my first year. Look at all those peas. I gotta come out and harvest again tonight. I also have volunteer tomatoes in a couple spots in my garden. I'm just letting them go to see what happens. Here's the other side of that pea bed, the snap peas. There is more onions. You can't really see them. underneath, all the way underneath, there's onions, another volunteer tomato on the ground, and I have another summer squash right there. There's a quail. Look, let's see, look at all those peas. I honestly think I'm going to try freeze drying all these peas because we've kind of gotten our fill at this point. Like, we are over it. There's that same potato bed. Whoops. There's that same potato bed. And this bed has chives. It had potatoes that we already harvested. We have replanted other things. They're just not sprouting like I wanted them to. And that's my horseradish. It's kind of gotten a little out of control. I'm going to harvest a bunch this year and just do something with it somehow or another. There's the black raspberry bush that we have that's actually a wild black raspberry bush, but it's grew right up next to the garden gate. So we were like, let's see what happens. And it did so good this year. I'm getting 2 batches of black raspberry jam out of it. They're in the freezer currently, and we've eaten some. I've made muffins. Like, it did so good. So that's gonna stay. Chive flower. In this bed, we have a volunteer Cosmo, which you can kind of see hanging over the edge. And we have a silver slicer and an Armenian cucumber. I harvested more garlic out of this bed. It's replanted, and I do see some things sprouting, so hopefully it hurries. And this wall is cucamelons. There we go. And there is a baby cucamelon. Some call it a cucamelon, Mexican sour gherkin, mouse melon. There's lots of different names. So here's some of my small boxes for herbs that my husband made me. I didn't quite have enough herbs at the time, so I planted other things in them, but now I have some mints that I need to go in these, so hopefully they don't take over. We've got, this has some onions, some bunching onions, some chives, some artichokes. There's more artichokes there, and that's calendula. We have mint, rosemary, and the random red onion. This one has oregano and Mexican tarragon. I'm not sure if the Mexican tarragon is going to come back. I've never had it come back, so maybe it will, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to dig one of the two up and move it to a different box. That's okay. We have this one's straight 8. There's a little one down there. The straight 8 cucumber. Lemon balm, I've already harvested off of this and put it in the freeze dryer. It smells so good. I love it. So over here I have some sage, which will be perennial in here. And then I have a dahlia and some lemongrass. So these are my barrel planters, which I absolutely love. I keep cutting this lettuce back because it's too hot for lettuce and it's just bitter and it bolts. As you can see right here, it's just bolting. So I keep cutting it back and it keeps just regrowing. I'm wondering if maybe I can cut it back, keep cutting it back, keep cutting it back, and then when it finally gets to the cool weather, maybe I can have some good lettuce and not have to restart it. That's what I'm trying this year. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. This basil, this one I set up first in the very early spring to do lettuce. And we used our own home compost that we made from our chickens and our goats and our scraps from the garden last year, and it did spectacular. These two were made later in the year, like after the last frost, and we had run out of our own home compost, and I bought some raised bed soil, like organic raised bed soil, and there was just no nutrients in it. I will show you my other horseshoe bed that we made. Same problem. Part of it had just the organic raised bed soil, and the other half, like 3/4 of it, had our home compost, and it did, like, it's significant the difference in the two sides. So we did fortify everything with some compost and some organic materials and organic fertilizers, and they're finally taking off. But this one is our celery. We have Utah celery and pink celery and apparently some weeds. Happens. And then this is my basil bed, which is finally taking off, and I am so excited about that because basil is one of my favorites. Here's my beauty beds. I firmly believe that you need something beautiful in your garden besides just your produce, because that is beautiful, but you need something besides your produce to be able to look at and maybe pick. So I have the first bed down here. This is Dahlia gladiolas, and I have cinnamon basil on the end of that one because I didn't have room in the barrel. And then we have my Lisianthus and some cosmos. And then in the next one, dahlias and more gladiolas. That whole bed is purple and white, so that'll be fun. And the one behind it, more dahlias and cannas. So I'm so excited for all of this to bloom. I think it will be beautiful. It's actually right in front of my horseshoe bed, which I have a seating area in the middle of. So it will be perfect. Perfect place to just sit and relax and look at the beauty. Look at these morning glories. They're really showing off this morning. Okay, so this is the horseshoe bed. As you can see, this side is lush. It has an artichoke, some zinnias all over. I have a moonflower back there, some citronella. I planted a rose there that I had dug up from my other garden, but it didn't do anything and just died off, even though I tried really hard. There is a rose on the other side, but again, nutrients weren't there on that side. We'll look at it in a second. Just take this in. Look at all these tomatoes and zinnias, and there's a Adam gherkin down there. It's just plentiful. Plentiful. I've got, oh, I'm caught. Sorry. I've got pole beans growing up the back of it. I have sweet potatoes in the bottom back here, and the sunflower. Those are sweet potatoes down there. Better look at that rose. It's still tiny. The side has been fortified. There's the artichoke on this side, which you can tell it's a lot smaller, and the tomatoes and my peppers. It's all just significantly smaller. And as we start going this way, this is where we started with the compost. Can you see? Let's look at the difference. Let's see, let's move back. Do you see the difference back here? Like, oh, it's filled in better here, and there's more lush growth than up here where there's no compost. So it's just nutrient deficient soil. So there's some, they were hanging baskets that I wasn't able to sell. So I just popped 2 in each one of these because these planters were given to me by a friend. So perfect space for them. We actually have a couple more barrels we'll probably put over here by the washing table, like along there. And then that is my asparagus weed patch. So there's asparagus in there, weeds in there. It's really hard to take care of it. So this fall, I think we're going to just dig up all the asparagus, make a raised bed, put the asparagus roots back in, and get rid of that eyesore. But it's okay. It does its job. We get asparagus. I have volunteer basil everywhere in my garden. I like everywhere. There's random, even by the raised beds and stuff. So I've just cut off all the heads and I freeze dried them. So I'm gonna see what happens. Here's some cabbages that we still have. Like that one's about ready. Calabos cabbage. No, Coeur de Boue cabbage. Coeur de Boue. I don't know if I'm saying that right. We have some that we just harvested from this bed. I'm just leaving that. I gotta compost it, but yeah, there's more. There's some kale back there. My tomatoes, I have not trellised them at all, but they seem to be doing okay. So probably should get out there and, tie them up a little bit. I'm not pruning them this year. I'm not doing anything except for water and fertilizer. It's been kind of nice not putting too much effort into them because usually I'm pruning and pruning and pruning and it gets tedious. Our corn, it's short, but it's very sturdy. There is the broccoli. We've already harvested it, but it's still giving me side shoots, so I'm just going with it. Cauliflower is the same. I have a lot of broccoli rabe that just, this is a lot of broccoli rabe that's just went to seed. Kind of leaving it. I decided this year I don't have the time. I don't know if it's time or ability to get out here for broccoli rabe enough so it doesn't bolt. Like it just kept bolting and bolting and bolting, and it was I give up and I'm not going to be planting it again. It's just not something that we made good enough use out of. Over here is my blue sea holly. It's a perennial. I love it. It's beautiful. It's great in bouquets too. And there's some marshmallow root and some Nice hyssop behind it. Over here, that's elecampane. That's elecampane. It's medicinal. The marshmallow and a Nice hyssop are also medicinal. The marshmallow you can kind of see is right here with these little tiny flowers. And the Nice hyssop is those purple ones that stick up. Here is my strawberry patch that needs to be weeded, apparently. A lot of things need to be weeded in this garden. I haven't gotten to it. That's okay. Our summer squash patch, the little tiny ones that you can see right in the front, there's another one down here. Those are supposed to be round zucchini, and they're just not doing the thing. They're just not. But as you can see, okay, look at the zucchinis. See that one? Fat. It looks like a fat stem with a flower on top. That's a zucchini. There's another one right. Yeah, there's two in that picture. I'm really excited because my zucchini season is just starting to kick off, and I don't eat gluten, I don't like gluten-free noodles, so I'm just gonna freeze dry zoodles and use those. We got tomatillos back there. All the weeds and grass you're seeing is behind the garden fence. We have just had a really busy summer and haven't been able to keep up with like the extra weeding or extra mowing and stuff. It's just been crazy, but it's okay. These are my snacking cucumbers. One is the lunchbox variety. One I can't remember. I'll put the name on the screen once I go through my app and find it. Oops. Look at them. I'm so excited for tomato season. This very sparse bed is pickling cucumbers, the Adam Gherkin. As you can see, I have all these empty spaces, and as we get further down here in the garden, there are several empty spaces because we had a rabbit problem. My garden is completely fenced in. The gates have hardware cloth over top of them, but for some reason, we had planted tomatoes. Yeah, we had planted eggs, cracked egg, underneath every single one of our tomatoes. So there's this row, and there's 3 more rows back there, and then there's a row on the other side of the garden, and this is one full row, and there's a row behind it, but it's not completely full. It's got tomatillos, and then it's got some tomatoes. Anyways, that was a lot of eggs. This is the first year I have ever had a problem with raccoons. They came into my garden, pulled the tomato plants just straight out of the ground, didn't damage them, set them next to the hole, and ate the eggs. So we trapped them. They were relocated. Everything's fine. But once we got rid of the raccoons, we didn't realize they weren't climbing over the fence like we thought. They actually like made a hole in the fence that we couldn't actually see because it wasn't that big, but it was enough for bunnies to get in, and bunnies ate so much stuff before we finally figured out where they were coming from. So there's some more pickling cucumbers. Over here, it's very weedy. That's okay. Oh, I almost fell. It's very weedy over here, but those are Jacob's cattle beans. On the trellis was all 1500-year cave beans, but the rabbits ate those too. There's some weedy peppers over there. They're not doing great this year. That's okay. This giant mess, this whole giant bed, and then this little one, also pickling cucumbers. It is, if you can see in there, there's just abundance of flowers and little ones. It's packed. I'm so excited. That's my toothache plant. That is, oh, it's blooming. We'll go see it. Peppermint balsam, peppermint stick balsam, something like that. Oh no, like something trampled or it just fell over. Look how pretty it is. My sugar baby bush watermelon. There's a watermelon. That's a tomato in the corner. This makes me so sad. It's a bunch of weeds mostly. I planted dill in here twice, and I have barely any. That's okay, it happens. These over here, they're looking a little crazy. Those are all of my, yep, those are all of my paste tomatoes. Okay, so these over here, there's 3 rows. I don't know if that portrays in the video. Those are all my paste tomatoes, and they are just loaded. Look at that. It's beautiful. Red swan beans. So there's 2 of these beds. They are edamame. I am so excited. I love it for my sushi bowls, or just I air fry them, and I just love them. This is more of the Jacob's cattle bush beans, and then more of the 1500-year-old cave beans on the trellis. We've got some zinnias and fava beans. Let's see if we can get a picture of these fava bean flowers. They're kind of, look at those fava. That's what a fava bean flower looks like. They're gorgeous. On this trellis on both sides, we have noodle beans, which my husband is excited about. He does not like regular green beans, but he loves noodle beans. More of the fava beans and zinnias right after that trellis. Here's my slicing cucumbers. There's 2 beds of them. Over on this side, we have scarlet runner beans. On this trellis, here's some sweet peppers, Blue Lake bush beans. I also have some scarlet runners back there and a few sunflowers because I didn't grow as many tomatoes this year as I usually do. There's my hot peppers. they're just small. Like, it's really sad how small they are. I don't know what to do. There's rocks there because this used to be a driveway about 10 years ago. So there's rocks still in the dirt, but the soil is fortified and doing well. Just we're gonna give it another boost of fertilizer and see what happens. I still have about just less than 60 days left in the season, I guess. So some more melons. I've got I've got onions over here with the sweet peppers. Look at that one. That must be a Marconi. Yeah. That Cosmo looks a little rough. It's because it was laying the other way, and I put it up on the trellis, so it's arguing with me right now. Wonder who will win. On this part of the trellis, I actually planted wing beans and python beans, and it looks like they might actually be coming up. And hopefully they do something so I can get my first harvest. I've planted them every year and never gotten anything out of them. And that is another, oops, I'm caught. And that is another round zucchini that's doing now. Over here on this side of this trellis, there's parsley purposely on the end, and then there's volunteer parsley all through it, and then apparently volunteer blue spice basil mixed in mixed in with the fava beans that we planted. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to harvest all of the stuff that's not supposed to be there, put what I can in the freeze dryer, and we'll see how that goes. So we have melons. I actually have another trellis right here that I have goji berries on, but they're not really, like, there's one. Let's see if I can point at it. Right, oh golly, it comes out of focus. Right there on the end, that's, right, here's the other side. I'm going to have to go through and weed again because I have more volunteer parsley. That one's doing okay. That one's doing pretty good. There's a few that are doing okay. I'm hoping they perennialize and grow up that trellis, but we shall see. More melons on the other side. There's some broccoli rabe. There's a couple eggplants somewhere in there, some cabbages, and kale. And then that's my medicinal bed. It has St. John's wort, anise hyssop, marshmallow root, horehound. There's sage in there. There's parsley. No, sorry. There's thyme and oregano. That's it. Oh, here's some chives. Okay, so that's our garden tour for August of 2024. Thank you for joining me. I absolutely love sharing my garden. It is the place that brings me peace and joy and happiness, and just being able to put it out here for everyone makes me so happy. So, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.